Welcome back, scholars. We're continuing our journey into the strange and somewhat disconcerting world of postmodernism with today's author, Donald Barthelme. Donald Barthelme is a postmodernist author. He lived from 1931 to 1989. His early career consisted of him being a newspaper reporter, believe it or not. He began to have an impact on popular culture when he realized that language, rather than what it represents, could be the source of fiction. Right? When you begin to look at language and hold it suspect, and you say, okay, well, the story doesn't necessarily have to be the items, the characters, the plot, the objects. It can be about the language itself. Now, this came from postmodernism's relative suspicion of everything, including grand narratives. If you remember, the postmodernists did away with the meta-narrative. They thought that, if everything is just a cosmic mistake, then all these great stories we tell ourselves of quantities of heroes and villains, of there being a greater meaning to it, all comes into question. It all goes out the window. Barthelme suggests that a danger exists in fine-sounding words and phrases without questioning the motive that informs them. Okay? He believes that postmodernists believe that all language is a kind of power structure, a lexical game given and proctored by those in power. Right? So Barthelme wondered at the existence of and the why of it, as demonstrated in this story. His fiction uses preposterous situations that demonstrate that life lacks romance and heroism. Okay, which brings us to our real head-scratcher of story, the balloon. Excuse me. Now, a standard narrative, you'd have a hero and a villain. You'd have some greater purpose here, some grand design, either world domination or destruction, power, strength, the greater good, that sort of thing. In postmodernism, all that kind of goes out the window. What is the greater good, if it all is more or less the same? What is the grand design if we're all just here as the result of a cosmic mistake, right? Herein lies nihilism, and this is kind of one of the pillars of postmodernism. So the story, as you might have gathered, or at least I hope you did, if you got to the end scratching your head and wondering what did I just read, the story is satire. A guy inflates a giant balloon over New York. Just out of nowhere. One day, he just constructs this massive balloon that covers the entire city. Immediately, we see the suspicion toward language here. Right? The narrator hints that the balloon gave rise to innovations, many more inflated displays that came after it. People said it was interesting, which doesn't quite cover it, right? If suddenly, say you're walking around downtown Huntsville and suddenly the sky is blotted out by a massive balloon, you're not going to say, well, that's very interesting. Well, you might, but that would be the gift of understatement, right? And so here we see language as us being suspicious of language. It's more than that. It's either tragic or shocking or unsettling. Interesting is the least effective way to describe what it is. Now, postmodernism is deeply nihilistic, as I said, and as such, it denies meaning in anything. It denies grand narratives or meta-narratives. Like the meta-narrative is kind of like the meta-myth, the thing that is the base story of all our great literature, our great mythology. On my bookshelf back here, I have a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell. He says that all great stories from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Star Wars all kind of follow this same pattern, and they're all basically one myth. We have the myth of the hero, the journey, and the enlightenment, that kind of thing. So postmodernism looks at this and goes, no, I don't believe that. We're all just kind of fooling ourselves if we believe that there's any meaning to anything. Not my personal point of view, but this is, I'm here to tell you about postmodernism and what the postmodernists think. Okay, so people living under the balloon are bothered by its lack of purpose. Yeah, fascinating, right? This is perhaps a parody. It's the author laughing at the meaninglessness of life and human struggles to look at this balloon and try to ascribe some meaning to it when there isn't one, or the fact that there is no meaning in life. Maybe he's laughing at the people who don't embrace the ideas of postmodernism, that nihilism. Okay, so as such, everyone tends to ascribe their own meaning to the balloon. Again, this is a lot like postmodernism too. You hear people say it all the time, my truth, right? Or my personal truth. So everybody begins to look at the balloon and say, well, the balloon is this, or the balloon means that, or the balloon means nothing. And really our reaction to the balloon is what is important. Okay. So some love the balloon, some hate it. During its existence, the balloon allows for citizens of New York to experience randomness, the lack of meaning, even in geography. Right. So again, one of the deepest tenets of postmodernism is nihilism, and that means that none of it really means anything. The things we do, I'd say, do not echo in eternity, like Maximus said in Gladiator. They echo into a void and they're gone. Right? Again, not my point of view, but this is the postmodernist thinking that in a world where nothing really means anything, all quantities are more or less equal. Beggar and king, angel and demon, all basically the same meaningless gobbledygook. So in the concluding paragraph, we learn that the balloon was put in place by a man who was lonely, and as a demonstration of his loneliness and his sexual frustration because his beloved was out of the country. He says, I might bring it out again sometime when we're having a fight or something like that. So herein you have this narrative where this guy creates this massive balloon, changes the entire landscape and the culture of New York City for a certain period of time, and then takes it down for no greater reason than I was lonely and I was frustrated because you were away, and that's it. Ultimately, the entire meaning of the deeper meaning of the story here is there is no meaning, and that in and of itself is postmodernism. Granted, it's a brief snapshot of postmodernism, but that's basically the major tenet there. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and as much as you could enjoy the story, go forth and have a meaningful day.